Heartbeat Alaska is brought to you in part by Brown's Electric Lighting Gallery. Thank you, Brown's Electric, for your generous support of Heartbeat Alaska. Heartbeat Alaska is made possible by Cooperative Carlisle Transportation, your full-service transportation and logistics company.
Heartbeat Alaska is also brought to you by Frontier Flying Service. Thank you, Frontier, for getting Heartbeat Alaska airborne.
1, 2, 3, 4, let's go.
It's Heartbeat.
It's a fabulous show.
Alaska.
Hi, Heartbeat Alaska.
It's Heartbeat. Alaska.
Pull up a chair and enjoy the show.
Hear it from Sitka to Barrow. Gather around for Jeannie's show. It's the Aleut, the Indian, and the Eskimo. It's the Aleut, the Indian, and the Eskimo.
Welcome one, welcome all.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Heartbeat Alaska Native News and Information. I'm Jeannie Green. It's another great program. This program is on the issue of fisheries in Chignik Lagoon. I make it a point not to pitch Native people against Native people, one issue against another in the same community, but this issue is very important. Fisheries, very controversial no matter where you live in the state of Alaska. Let's take a look at Chignik Lagoon and how the cooperative fisheries has affected the lives in this tiny Aleut community. Then after we travel north and take a look at the Norton Sound king crab fishery. It's a wonderful show. Thank you for joining me. A few weeks ago, Heartbeat Alaska took you to Chignik Lagoon, where an experimental fishery has been in effect for the past 3 years. With the low fish prices and competition from farm fish, a few fishermen took the idea of a fishing co-op to the state to cut down on the cost of operating almost 100 boats, while at the same time improving the quality of the fish by producing mostly live fish. It was the belief of the co-op that this could only be achieved by requesting that the state put an allocation of 1% on the Sockeye salmon. The state granted their request, and this year, the co-op with its 87 members would be allowed to harvest 87% of the catch, and the competitive fleet would harvest 13%.
I'm an independent fisherman, so, we only have an allocation of 13% this year, and 13% of this fishery is nothing. And I'm thinking that if this particular co-op idea was such a good plan, why does there need to be an allocation?
The reason they have to have allocation is they're not efficient. If they were efficient and were good at what they did, they wouldn't need an allocation. They're not efficient, and there's a lot of waste inside that co-op. And I see more of it now that I'm in it, or my dad's in it, and I'm the one that's got the permit, so I have to go to all these meetings.
If there were no allocation, there'd be this escalation. People would be, okay, well, they're catching too much fish, so we'd have to add more boats to catch more fish, and then they'd add more boats, and we'd add more. So you'd be right back in the same position of fighting over the most fish as you possibly can in the shortest period of time possible. And that's the problem with the Alaska fishing industry. That's what all the competitive fisheries do, and that's why quality is poor in Alaska, and Alaska's gotten a bad reputation for its poor quality, and that's why we lost the markets to the farm fishers, producers. So that's what we try to avoid is racing for the fish, because then quality suffers and we're right back to 40 cents a pound again.
Many other issues arose from the formation of the co-op and the allocation placed on the Sockeye, such as the seine net that was placed across the lead just below the weir. The state-owned weir counts the number of fish heading upstream to make sure enough fish get into the lakes and streams to spawn. This is called the escapement number, and if the weir doesn't get its count, the fishermen don't get to fish. And unfortunately, the weir was not getting the count necessary to open the fishery as often as the fishermen hoped. Some locals believe that the seine stretched across the lead is the reason why the weir is not getting their escapement goals.
It just wasn't managed right, and this here's not being, if anybody's going to try and tell me this is managed in place, when you put a seine across down below the weir, and they're going to catch everything against it. Our idea that seine there in the first place is to get the fish going up there. How are you going to get 10, 15,000 a mile or so up to, or whatever it is from there up to that weir? It's impossible.
The lead is out there, and they're supposed to have like 100 feet of opening in the middle. The other day we tried coming up, and that lead was totally all closed, and in the middle there where it was supposed to be opened. And
what would that do to the fish then?
The fish can't come up here. It's like a trap. It's literally a trap.
Virginia Alec of Chignik Lake is just one of the resident subsistence users who depend on the salmon runs each year.
We rely on subsistence heavily up here. That's our lifestyle. I'm just merely concerned with our subsistence lifestyle, and I think if they're going to take that away from us, you know, that'll be another fight from me, because I've been a subsistence user all my life.
In August, in particular, Chignik has had a history of over-escapement. Even with all 100 boats or 80 boats or whatever fishing in the fishery, the escapement goal for August is about 50,000 fish, and I believe it's like the past 10 or 15-year average has been like 85,000 fish escapement. So the first year of the co-op, here we were trying to be efficient, using only 10 or 15 boats, I believe, at that time to harvest the fish, and try as we could, fish as hard as we could. We could not stop the fish. There was too much escapement. And I think the final tally for August ended up being like 75 or 80,000 fish. I mean, it's not a substantial amount of over-escapement, but that was argued against us, saying, oh, these guys are purposely letting the fish go by to prevent us from going fishing, and it's a waste, and we need to stop every fish, and blah, blah, blah. So we went to the board and said, hey, okay, well, do you want us to, you know, you look at the history of Chignik with all 80 or 100 boats fishing, they haven't been able to stop the fish. So we proposed this gear change, this fixed leads, that we said, hey, we can put these leads across the mouth of the river. We'll stop every fish if you want us to, and it's super efficient. We can be able to pump the live fish, you know, harvest them and do this live fish program that we've been so successful with. And that way we stop every fish, and we'll help Fish and Game control escapement, and we won't have to throw every single boat in the fleet out there to try to stop the fish, when we know, looking at past history, that we've been unsuccessful in doing that in the past anyway. So the Board of Fish agreed. They said, sure, let's create these fixed leads, let's try this. And they have been very successful. They work wonderfully. And again, they are managed, you know, realistically not by the co-op, by the Fish and Game. If we're stopping too much fish, the Fish and Game says, hey guys, remove the leads from the water or lift up the lead line and let the fish swim by. And it's amazing. They can tell us that, and within, the weir is only about 1.5 miles or 2 miles upriver from where these leads are. And it's almost within 18-hour period. They can tell us to quit fishing, lift up the leads, and let the fish swim by, and 18 hours later, boom, the escapement jumps up. So it's really a tool that the Fish and Game can use to manage the escapement and to allow us to be more efficient in harvesting the fish. You know, it seems like the Fish and Game has been really, really sensitive to that, and they've actually provided more subsistence opportunity, you know, with the co-op. They changed some regulations so that rather than, I think it was before, you could only take subsistence fish 48 hours prior to or 48 hours after a commercial opening, and now they allow non-co-op fishermen to subsist fish any time during the co-op fishing, and then vice versa for the co-op. Whenever the independent fishermen are fishing, we can subsist during those times too. So they've really expanded the subsistence opportunities, and I think they've really tried to help people out in that regard to provide as much subsistence opportunity as possible.
Unfortunately, a poor sockeye return this year has left Subsistence users with a dilemma, and both fleets with very little fishing time.
Geez, we were on limit almost the entire month of July. We only fished the first 3 or 4 days of August. I mean, the bottom line is the total Chignik harvest was about 700,000 fish. I mean, that's the forecast. Fish and Game forecast a harvest of 1.6 million, and in actuality, when it was all said and done, we only took 700,000.
With such a low return and low escapement numbers, the independent fishermen were only allowed to fish 4 times this season.
We got much less fishing time, and the independents got much less fishing time. And it's terrible. I mean, it's horrible. And everybody agrees. But like I said, the payout to the co-op has been pathetic, and I don't know how anybody can survive on 4 days of fishing, and I don't know, our guys are having a very, very difficult time as well. And that's, again, not a factor of the co-op existing in Chignik. I mean, thank goodness, if it weren't for the co-op in Chignik, we would have had a 700,000 fish run this year, but we'd be fishing for 45 cents a pound. And under the co-op, at least, we're averaging almost $1 a pound. And the independent fishermen they're not getting quite the same prices that we are, but just by the existence of the co-op, they're getting a much elevated price. I think it's in the neighborhood of 60 cents a pound, which when you consider that Kodiak is getting 52 on one side of us and that Ariem's getting 47 on the other side of us, it's a pretty darn good price. So that's the reality. I mean, you run the numbers on the average. I mean, the average gross earnings for a commercial staying operation in Chignik, if the co-op didn't exist, would be about 25 grand. And you're talking, everybody would have been owing the cannery money by the end of the season. I mean, crew would have made no money. People would be bankrupt.
They claimed we got a higher price. I don't believe that's totally true, because I think the higher price was going to come eventually anyways. We got less fishing days, but they won't let us have them all in one batch. I asked for that at the Board of Fish, and I asked Fish and Game, and Fish and Game says that the co-op has to approve it. Now, why does that side have to approve something for us is my question, you know. And we're not asking for any more, I wasn't asking for any more fish, I was just asking them to give us something that, you know, we could cut some of our expenses. Because our insurance runs the same amount of time as it ever does, because our days are scattered throughout the year. So you still have, they haven't cut our costs at all for us, really. I mean, maybe a little bit on fuel, but you still have to have your crew here all year. So it doesn't seem to benefit us.
It's created a hostile environment. You can feel it as you're walking down one of our gravel roads. It hasn't been enjoyable. I think the kids are up against something that I never even had to worry about when I was growing up. You pretty much just had to, your responsibility was helping out in the summertime with your duties on the boat and working on the seine and helping your family out. You know, and a lot of the kids are missing out on that now. And I don't know what kind of effect that's going to have long term, but I know the kids need something to do, as all kids do in the summertime, and there's not much to do in Chignik. So you take away that part of their lives, and of course you're going to have mischief.
Some would argue that the co-op has saved many permit holders from going under this past season, while others are convinced that the traditional style fishery would have sustained itself through these hard times. The debate of whether or not to continue with the co-op fishery will be decided by the Alaska Board of Fisheries. Regardless of the decision, the people of Chignik Lagoon have the challenging tasks of making the fishery work for them and rebuilding a community that has been divided for the past 3 years.
Flying in Alaska? Fly Frontier, the official airline of Heartbeat Alaska. Frontier is expanding again. They've added new routes to Nome, Kotzebue, and the surrounding villages. As you can see, Frontier is now really covering Alaska. So the next time you fly, try Frontier. Frontier offers quick, convenient check-in, low fares, and service direct to many of the villages. Frontier Flying Service is the official airline of Heartbeat Alaska. Make it your official airline too.
Live the outdoor dream with the new amphibious, all-season, all-terrain Argo 8x8 Avenger for up to 6 passengers. The new all-wheel drive Argo 8x8 Avenger features 25% more power, new steering system, 25% more ground clearance, more legroom, extra padded seating, more capacity, and a lot more. Explore the possibilities and arrange for a free test drive at your local Argo dealer.
Merry Christmas!
Merry Christmas! Merry Christmas!
It's time to pull out those video cameras and start getting those greetings. Each year, Heartbeat Alaska brings you holiday greetings from villages across the state. Would you like to see your village on our Christmas special? Then send us a tape with your village greetings. We can accept VHS, Super VHS, and Mini DV. Send your tape to Ginny Green Productions, 6250 Tuttle Place, number 5, Anchorage, Alaska, 99507. Christmas is almost here, and we'd love to see you on Heartbeat Alaska.
Your Alaska State Troopers remind you that if you're transporting alcohol by common carrier into an area that restricts the sale of alcohol, you must clearly label the package with the words alcoholic beverages and attach an itemized list. Failure to do so is called bootlegging, and it's against the law. Anyone with information on bootlegging is asked to call the Alaska State Troopers. Rewards of up to $600 are paid for successful tips. Let's all work together to stop bootlegging in Alaska.
In rural Alaska, we depend upon the rivers and the land for our subsistence. We depend upon our past to guide us into the future. We depend on toyo stove to keep our families warm. They're very efficient over the old type oil stoves that we used to have before.
Rural Energy Enterprises offers a wide variety of heating solutions for your home, like the Toyo Stove Laser 73 and Godan Boreal.
It's so efficient and it keeps our house, nice and cozy. You don't need no electricity, and you can also cook on it. You can pull the top up and then you can cook on it. And the burner is designed so that it's more efficient than the old type coil burners. They're priced well. You save money on heating fuel. It's a big plus in our village.
Rural Energy Enterprises, helping Alaskans save energy since 1987. Thank you, everyone, for your help in this story. Thank you, everyone in Chignik Lagoon, for your help in this story. And we hope with this story that some light is shed that benefits the whole community. Let's travel now north to Norton Sound. NSEDC has a king crab fishery there. And please note, Heartbeat Alaska, Ginny Green Productions, is much more than television programs. We're a full-service production house, as this crab infomercial will show you. From the cold, pure waters of the Bering Sea, straight to your table, the succulent flavor of Norton Sound Red King crab begins here. The Bering Sea separates Alaska from Russia. The cold, rich currents nurture some of the richest fishing grounds in the world. It's from here that hard-working Alaskans fish for one of the most sought-after delicacies in fine dining, Norton Sound Red King Crab.
I enjoy it. I enjoy being out in the ocean, making a living in the ocean.
Norton Sound Economic Development Corporation manages the fishery and ensures that profits benefit the fishermen and communities that live here in the place known simply as the great land. Norton Sound red king crab is the only fresh Alaska red king crab available in the summer. During July and August, fishing vessels bring their catch here. To the state-of-the-art processing plant in Nome. Here the crab is carefully cleaned and cooked to perfection in specially designed cookers. Unlike all the other crab processors in Alaska, Norton Sound Seafoods is not a large, fast-paced freezing operation. Here in Nome, we take the time to do it right.
Now, this has got to be the freshest product that you'll find probably anywhere in the world, because it's a small boat fishery and the boats come in on a regular basis and they bring in their crabs still alive.
But summer isn't the only time to get out on Norton Sound. In the winter, with the fishing boats put to sleep, one of the most unique fisheries in the world opens up. The Norton Sound Red King Crab Winter Fishery. Meet Robin Thomas. As the winter sun sinks lower in the sky, he sets out from Nome to check his crab pots.
Well, we got the hole open. We use the saw to trim it, and then the axe, and then the duok. And then we'll pull the pot up, and we got our fingers crossed there. If there's nothing here, there might be some in the next pot, which you can see right over there. We've got 8 more going out towards Sledge Island. There's a crab! Yeah, it's just under legal size. I don't know, Josh, he's pretty small. We better let him go, huh?
When you're miles out on the sea ice and the darkness and silence of a winter night envelops you, the rest of the world seems so far away, and it is. But you'd be surprised how quickly Norton Sound Red King Crab is distributed all over the world. Alaska Airlines has scheduled jet service from Nome to Anchorage 3 times a day. There are also 3 other air cargo companies in Nome. When we have fresh product, it gets on an airplane right away. From Anchorage, most places in the continental U.S. are only a few hours away. Norton Sound Red King Crab arrives to your door in 24 to 36 hours. And before it even gets on a plane, it's sealed in a special box with an insulated thermal liner and frozen gel packs. You can have confidence that Norton Sound Red King Crab will arrive at your door market fresh and full of flavor.
Beautiful. You cut it in half, throw it on the grill.
The Glacier Brewhouse is one of Anchorage's premier fine dining establishments. Norton Sound Red King Crab is a regular feature on their menu.
Here we have some beautiful, fresh Norton Sound Red King Crab.
Martin JoHannes is a sous chef at the brew house.
What we're going to do is simply score the underside of it. And the purpose of doing that is primarily to make it a little bit easier for the guests to eat. The other is allows the steam to penetrate the shell, obviously, and heats the king crab a little bit quicker. Keeps it nice and moist. The king crab is so sweet, so succulent, beautiful texture, and we don't want to disguise it or mask it or cover it up. So we're going to just put it simply in the steamer, no seasonings, nothing added to it. And then we're going to serve it with a clarified butter. Again, no seasonings added to that. And then we're going to sit and enjoy it.
He knows Norton Sound Red King crab is easy to prepare, makes a great presentation, and consistently pleases his customers.
We've got the crab all scored, so we're going to take it from here, put it in our perforated hotel pan. We're going to go down and put it in the steamer. We'll try to steam it for about 4 minutes. All right, here we go. And for 4 minutes. Now we wait. Customers love it. Overseas customers, guests come in here and rave about it, take pictures of it, just have a really good time with it. So we're really proud of the product that we serve, you know. Simple dish to prepare and wonderful to eat. So now that we've steamed it for our 4 minutes or so, we're just going to take it right out of there and we're going to go for the plate up. We're going to take this beautiful bundle of crab right here. We're going to put it like that. We're going to take this claw, put it like that.
Martin also appreciates that Norton Sound Red King crab is just the right size to make a great presentation.
And here we have our clarified butter. And we're just going to put a little bit in that. Beautiful golden color on that. Looking for our vegetables, wherever they went. Put that in there. And a little bit of vegetable. And a little bit of jasmine rice. We'll garnish of parsley. There we have it.
Well, our restaurant specializes in wood-grilled meats and seafood, and so we like to have the best of seafood and meats to offer to our guests, and one of which is the Norton Sound Red King crab. It's nice, and the texture of the meat I like a lot. It's very sweet, and the Norton Sound Red King crab is the only fresh king crab available during the summer months, and so we'd like to obviously have fresh seafood for the guests, so it's the best route to go.
Norton Sound Red King crab is a very popular, easy to prepare addition to any menu. And you can rest assured that the fishery is well managed and benefits the hard-working people in this remote and beautiful part of the great land. Thank you, Eugenia Siksick, and everyone, Tom McGuire, involved with this story, and thank you so much for joining us. Join us again next week. I'm Jeannie Green. God bless you. We'll see you then.
It's